You put 20 pounds on over 6 years, like you're not going to lose it in 2 weeks. I really don't think fitness, like strength training, should be a part of weight loss. I think nutrition should be the part of weight loss. I don't think strength training necessarily needs to equate to an aesthetic. I think that goes to nutrition. Strength training is strength training. I'm strength training to get stronger. The nice part about it is as you put on muscle, you're going to burn more calories just being alive, but it takes a lot longer to build muscle than it does to lose fat. If we can strength train to build muscle and we can adjust our lifestyle and eating habits to equate for weight loss or fat loss, I think we can get some really good outcomes from that. But I think we have to have a practical approach, and most people need to be a little bit more practical on their weight loss goals.
Welcome to the Approach Podcast. I'm Mike Quinlan. Today, I get to speak with Mitch Sadowsky from Aretas Physical Therapy. Welcome, Mitch.
Hi, Mike.
How are you today?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well. My upper body's a little sore, but other than that,
Good.
I'm doing all right.
It should be.
You mind telling the people a little bit about yourself and your journey to where you are today?
Oh, man, it is a long, winding journey. So I'm the owner of Aretas Performance. We're part of Aretas Physical Therapy. We've got 2 locations in Milwaukee, one in Wauwatosa and one in Hales Corners. Started off a little bit of a circuitous route. So I grew up, going way back, I grew up in Whitefish Bay, went to college at Ball State University, played volleyball there. Played a little bit of volleyball professionally overseas, came back to the U.S., started just my regular professional career, and then got an opportunity to coach college volleyball. Did that, but I started noticing something with our athletes that the physical preparation they had coming to the college level didn't really match what we were looking for. Like, they were athletic, at Georgetown and Florida State, we're looking for some fairly elite athletes. And, so you're looking at females at, 6 foot was short for us. So we're looking at 6 foot to 6'4". We had some players underneath that, but just their physical literacy, their ability to move, their ability to stabilize, to generate speed, generate power, be explosive, just, they had that potential. They just weren't there, and started seeing some issues in, just questioning, like, what are we doing to prepare these kids for the collegiate level and the amount of stress that we're going to put on their body in college. We should be doing a much better job of preparing them for that. And so I decided to leave college coaching and got into strength training. And after I did that, one of the kids that I was training and coaching in high school, her dad owned a gym, said, "Hey, would you like to come train here?" I said, "Sure." And then a little bit down the road, he recommended me for the director of golf fitness position at Lake Nona Golf and Country Club in Orlando. From there, started working with a number of the PGA players that lived at Lake Nona, and was in Florida from July of 2023. And then through some mutual connections, we decided to move back up here, which is what brought me to Aretas, to start Aretas Performance. I met our clinic owner and one of our other PTs, Nate Horning and Scott Baring. I met them through a common colleague in the golf world. I think for anyone that's familiar with golf fitness, Jason Glass. Jason's one of my good friends and mentors, and Nate and Scott had gone through his mentorship. We met together. We all met about 8 years ago in Orlando at the World Golf Fitness Summit. And we just, they're the first guys I saw. And, Nate was wearing a Milwaukee shirt. We started talking because, Wisconsin people all know people in common. We found out we had a really, really common background. And we just started talking about some opportunities to work together. And after our kids were born, our oldest daughter, Sam, 4 years ago, we started looking more and more seriously about the potential of moving up. And then everything fell into place a couple of years ago. We just decided that if we're going to do it, now is the time. And so that was fall of 21. And then we moved summer of 23. And now we're here.
Well, thanks for coming back up here. So we appreciate having you in the state.
Well, that was one of the things that we wanted to do, that Nate and I have talked extensively about leading up to my move up here, is outside of the logistics, just how much of a need there is for physical fitness and strength in Wisconsin. I think I think there are pockets around the country where you kind of know it's a very physically active community. Out in California, everybody's always outside, and um, Colorado is known for it. Florida, there's, for the most part, outside of the summer where it's pretty hot and everyone flees. But, Wisconsin, we wanted to bring that a little bit more. We have really good outdoor seasons, and there's a group that, I don't want to call it a group, but people like to be outside and fit. But I think there's a strength component that's missing. And we want people to age better. We want people to age stronger. And we saw an opportunity with that with golf fitness. I think the golf community in Wisconsin is better than it is in Florida. I mean, Florida is known as the golf mecca, but there's some very, very passionate golfers up here, and that's what we want to do. We want to keep people golfing longer and better.
Okay. So you worked as the director of golf fitness. You came up here and kind of have this golf-centric kind of idea about it. Do you consider yourself kind of a golf-centric coach, or do you kind of think of yourself as a more broad-based kind of general?
No, I'm a fitness Sherpa. People tell me where they want to go, and I get them there. We'll set the equipment up and get them there, kind of like a Sherpa would do to get you up Mount Everest. But with my background, I was a typical Midwest Wisconsin kid. I played baseball, football, basketball growing up. I happened to become a much better volleyball player than I was at any of those other sports, and that's just the one that I gravitated towards. And it's allowed me some really cool opportunities in life. But training volleyball players and training golfers, training baseball players, mostly training any rotational athlete, it's very similar. We're trying to develop the same explosive qualities. We're trying to create stability. We're trying to create strength. We're trying to create speed. We're trying to create movement competency. So, a lot of that stuff, you can take a baseball player, a volleyball player, and a golfer, put them in the same workout, and they're going to get the same and different things out of it, but it's all going to be beneficial.
Sure. And I don't want to fool anybody and think that this is very coincidental that we're just happening to talking fitness in January, but it is resolution season. Maybe you can dig into that whole thing and why they fail so often. In fact, quit day is coming up in just a couple of days here.
I hope
So
it's
maybe
not.
January 10th, Quitter's Day.
I hate that. It gets joked around a lot, and everyone's like, "Oh, you must hate resolutioners." I'm like, "No, I love them. They're awesome. Like, these are people who've set forth the idea that I need to get better. I want to get stronger. I hate using the term "get in shape" because that doesn't tell me anything. Like, round is a shape, square is a shape, so in shape doesn't. It's not very specific. For people who just want to live a stronger, fitter life, like they know they're not as healthy as they can be, and they start. The problem is the reason why people quit is they're really highly motivated right away. They've just come off a ton of downtime. And for some people, they either think that they can pick up where they left off like 4 years ago, the last time they started, the last time they worked out. They think that they can go right back into those things, or they pick a program that is inappropriate for their fitness level, and it becomes really hard. And they're really sore, and they pick hard workouts because they think that's what's going to move the needle. And even as a strength coach, like, I enjoy hard workouts, but I do not like seeing them come up the road. Like, if I see I've got so many just miserable workouts, and generally the ones that I enjoy doing are the ones that I kind of plan out that day. Like, I have an idea of what I want to do that day and end up being pretty miserable. And I'll probably do them again a couple of times a year, but not, it's like next Tuesday, this thing's coming up. I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing that on Tuesday. And that's what happens. They choose a bunch of workouts that are really hard. So hard. I felt like such crap afterwards. And it's hard to drag themselves back out of bed for that, or show up after work after a long day, or they plan on going to work to work out after work at 5:00. They plan on being there at 5:30, and all of a sudden they end up working till 6, and then it's like, oh, I can't make it to the gym today. I'll go first thing tomorrow morning. And then that alarm clock hits. It's 10 degrees outside. The covers are nice and warm and cozy, and it just absorbs. You're like, snooze a few times, like, I got to go to work. I can't work out today. Then all of a sudden, it's like 4 days down the road, 5 days down the road. It's like, well, there goes that. I'll start up again when things slow down, and things never slow down. So there's a lot of reasons why the resolutions don't stick, and I hate it. Like, fitness is a journey. It shouldn't be a resolution to do something. It's a decision. I'm gonna make a decision to lead a better, stronger, healthier life. And there are really simple ways to do that. One is, let's just clean up our diet a little bit. We're not talking any type of dogmatic nutrition plan or diet plan like keto or paleo or South Beach or active. They're all the same thing, essentially. It's a bit of calorie restriction. It's getting rid of processed foods. My thing is let's keep everything really simple and bite-sized. Eat more protein. Find a workout that you're going to enjoy doing, because nobody loves doing things they hate, or nobody does things they don't enjoy doing. So just find something you enjoy doing. Just go do 5 sets of dumbbell bench press and leave. That's it. Just do that for the day. And then come back the next day, do 5 sets of 5 squats with a kettlebell, we call it, or a dumbbell, we call it a goblet squat. Do that. And then the next day, come back, do 5 sets of 5 deadlifts, and just repeat that. You don't have to be at the gym for an hour, hour and a half. People, they go to one of the big box gyms and they're waiting an hour for a piece of equipment, or they leave their bench to go grab something somewhere else, and they come back and someone takes their bench, or they're being hounded for whatever dumbbell they're using. I'm like, well, that's a miserable environment to be in. So I think just keep things simple. I think people start way too hard, way too quickly, way too often to that. I think the other part too is they'll go the other direction and they don't hire a professional. If someone were to start off golfing, the first thing I would say is go get a lesson. But most people don't. They have the equivalent of just go buy an expensive set of clubs and figure it out. And I would say, no, get a cheap set of clubs, go get some lessons, figure out what set of clubs you need once you know what you're doing, and then let's peel back from there. So I would say hire a trainer first. And the one thing I will say, do not do this for New Year's resolutions. Do not do cardio. Do not start with cardio. One is people will say, well, I'm going to start jogging. Like, well, that's terrible. I understand that jogging is a part of fitness, but most people do not have good enough running form to say, let's go perform 2,000 reps of something with poor form. You wouldn't do 2,000 squats with terrible squat form. Why are we going to go do 2,000 foot strikes while we go try to run 2 miles? That seems like a really bad idea to me. So I would probably start just low-level fitness strength. If you want to run, again, go get an assessment. Go see a physical therapist, someone that can assess your running form and say, yes, go ahead. Here's some exercises to do to help your running form. Same thing we do with golf. When people come to me for golf performance, we talk about solving problems. Like, what problems are we having with our golf swing? What are you working on with your coach? Okay, well, we don't have the ability to separate. We can't pelvic tilt. We can't pelvic rotate. Well, those are big issues right there. So let's fix those things first. Golf swing will clear right up. All of a sudden, back stops hurting, stop coming over the top, stop losing spine angle at the top, or any of the swing calls. So,
Okay. No, that's awesome. Like, I think the other thing that always got in my way when I got into starting to work out is like that journey that you're on. It's actually a very slow journey, right? So you don't necessarily you put a lot of work in and you're not necessarily seeing anything, and that it becomes difficult, right? Like, my mom used to try to exercise, and the next thing you know, she's like, I've been exercising for a week. I put on 2 pounds. How does that even happen, right? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. You're getting out. You're doing things, right? You're changing your how you're living your life. And I just think that was a big thing for her, to understanding that.
yeah, that's a really good point too. Is why resolutions tend to fail, and what we look at for for fitness is that they don't see immediate results. Like, okay, you put 20 pounds on over 6 years, like you're not going to lose it in 2 weeks. Like let's take some time. But even then, I really don't think fitness, like strength training, should be a part of weight loss. I think nutrition should be the part of weight loss. I don't think strength training necessarily needs to equate to an aesthetic. I think that goes to nutrition. Strength training is strength training. I'm strength training to get stronger. The nice part about it is as you put on muscle, you're going to burn more calories just being alive. So you can move the needle, but it takes a lot longer to build muscle than it does to lose fat. So if we can burn that candle down from both ends, if we can strength train to build muscle and we can adjust our lifestyle and eating habits to equate for weight loss or fat loss, I think we can get some really good outcomes from that. But I think we have to have a practical approach, and most people need to be a little bit more practical on their weight loss goals, which is why we set the SMART goal acronym of specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time sensitive. If we set our goals according to that, then you're not going to worry about losing 10 pounds in a week or 2 weeks. Or 10 pounds can come off in 2 months. We still lost 10 pounds. I think it's taking those small steps to get there.
Yeah, 100%. And it's the same thing in golf. If you're trying to teach somebody golf, you're setting these tiny little goals that you just slowly work towards, and it just adds motivation and keeps people moving forward the whole time. And they feel accomplishment at that point.
Yeah. And I want people to take the idea that along with that strength journey, that I don't want to know how much you did today. I want to know how much you did today that will allow you to come back and do something tomorrow. If you're too sore to sit on the toilet, you did way too much. If you're throwing up during a workout, way too much. And I also want to know, like, what are you going to be doing in 80 years or when you're 80? If you're 40 years old, can we put together a 40-year fitness plan for you that is going to allow you to be there and doing the things at 80 that you want to? Do you want to be bedridden? Do you want to be confined to a wheelchair? Or do you want to be able to roll around on the floor with your grandkids and pop up without the Midwestern grunt
Right.
when we get out? So I think setting those types of long-term realistic goals is really, really important, because that sets the table for everything else that we want to do.
Yep. And that is one of my goals, is to be able to be active with my grandkids, not just my kids, with my grandkids, should I be fortunate to have some. We're going to switch gears and go more golfy here.
Yeah.
So somebody comes in, they want to get better with their golf swing or their golf fitness. You're going to put them through an assessment, right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of things are you looking for in these assessments?
Well, so I'll take everybody through a TPI screen. So we're looking for a number of things. One, do we have the motor control, and do we have the movement prerequisites to have an efficient, kinematically efficient golf swing? So there are a number of things that we look at. For me, the big three, which is technically the big four, are: what does your setup posture look like? What does your pelvic tilt look like? What does your pelvic rotation look like? And what does your thoracic rotation look like? Those are the big ones for me. If you have a poor setup posture, if you have a C posture, which is kind of that hunched over the ball, or the S posture where the pelvis tucks back, chest sticks out, we kind of have an S curve in our spine, that's already going to give me a couple of ideas of some movement faults that we're going to have as we try to swing the golf club. After that, we'll go look at a number of other things. We'll look at, can they touch their toes, how they touch their toes. Can they touch one toe, like on one leg? We'll take the other leg, see if one side is better than the other or worse than the other. We'll check their squat. We'll check their ankles. We'll check internal and external hip rotation. We'll check external shoulder rotate. We'll look at their lat length, so try to get arms up overhead, and we'll look at their glutes. We'll look at their neck rotation, and there's just a series of redundant tests. We'll check their the wrists. We'll check their wrist flexion, ulnar radial deviation, and that is going to give me an idea of how they move and what their swing is going to look like based on those movements or the movement inhibitions. So if, like, take for example, somebody sets up with S posture and they can't pelvic tilt, they have a little bit of shake and bake, there's going to be there are a number of swing faults associated with that movement inhibition. So we can give them some corrective exercises to do to help get that pattern back, try to teach them a neutral spine, try to get their pelvis back into the right spot, and then reinforce those patterns, because the setup is everything in the golf swing. If you're not set up well, it's gonna affect the swing itself. So if we can take care of those three things first, a lot of things clean up, and then we'll look at some of the other things down the road. Even something so small as just restricted ankles. Someone who, and this is part of the assessment, we'll go through an injury history. Someone who's had a history of sprained ankles, that's going to affect their golf swing. Someone who has a new hip, a hip replacement, that's going to affect their golf swing. So we're trying to look at all of those things, but not necessarily guess at things, but just look at how they move, look at some things and how they affect the golf swing, and then let's go to work on those.
Is there one that kind of sticks out with a lot of people? What's the most prominent thing that you kind of see in these things? And what does that actually do to their golf swing? Just one example.
I mean, I think setup posture's the number one, like just from go, because there's going to be so many other things that are down the line from there. So I would probably say just set up posture, and then that'll take pelvic tilt. Like, let's just, S posture is pretty common. So S posture, curvature in the spine when they set up. It's going to limit shoulder external rotation. They're probably going to either be inhibited into their takeaway, or they're going to lose posture. So you can lose posture, kind of have a reverse spine angle, because you're trying to manipulate your body around that spine angle. When we have a nice long neutral spine, we're going to have better rotary patterns and being able to take the club back. So with that S posture, not only are they going to be restricted in their turn, but they're going to have trouble pelvic tilting. With that neutral pelvis, if it's stuck, okay, what's going to end up happening is they try to turn, they can't manipulate the pelvis to posterior tilt and rotate through the golf swing, which is that impact position through the hips that we see a lot of high-level golfers be able to make. They're going to get stuck, and that can cause a number of other issues. A lot of it is an inhibited glute with that anterior tilt, which is going to give us early extension. Early extension will also tend to lead to an over-the-top swing. So just by that alone, we see 4 to 5 different swing faults off of just their setup posture.
And when you see that setup issue, do you find that that's more of a muscular thing, or do you find that that is sometimes just lack of knowledge, or just not doing it correctly?
I don't necessarily think it's one or the other. It can be one and the other. Sometimes people, like, that's just where they feel comfortable setting up, and they don't even realize they're in an S posture. Some people do. So there's a little bit of kinesthetic awareness, but others, they were never taught to set up properly. And so, you can, which is why we have a number of redundant tests within the TPI screen to let us know, is this actually a tissue problem, in which case I'll refer out. It's why we built a performance program inside a PT clinic, so I can take someone who's really restricted and inhibited and take them over to one of our PTs and say, hey, can you check out Mike? We did this screen. Here's what I found. And I don't necessarily think this is a motor control program, which is, the brain just doesn't know how to get into a position and control it. I think there's an actual tissue restriction. Can you check this out and maybe do some soft tissue work for him? And then if they do that, then they'll come back to me and say, hey, this is what we worked on with Mike. Here's some exercises we gave him. We just need to work on X, Y, and Z. And then I can implement some strategies to take care of X, Y, and Z as well.
Okay, very good. So a lot of this stuff I found on your Instagram feed, which is fantastic, by the way.
Nice.
And do you do your own Instagram? Like, do you write all that stuff and put the music on? And
yeah,
very cool.
Yeah, not bad for an old guy.
Not at all. Not at all. But the thing that I really liked about that Instagram thing is that I'm kind of a why guy myself, right? I don't like to just do things because somebody told me to do things. I love finding out, like, how this is beneficial to me. So this is an exercise that I'm doing. This is why it's beneficial. And these are the things that you get from doing that. And your Instagram feed really lays out that very, very well on many of the posts that are on there. So I just wanted to mention that because I find it very it's helpful as you go through things.
Thanks. Yeah, I try to follow a couple of different themes. One is, let's solve one problem. So, like, take thoracic rotation. Like, I'll try to do one It explains why thoracic rotation is important in the golf swing. And then here are a number of different exercises you can do for it, but they do follow a continuum. So we want to first, if we're going to reset a pattern, whether it's hip rotation, thoracic rotation, whatever it is, one, we're going to address breathing first, make sure our breathing mechanics are good. Two, we're going to address soft tissue. So we're going to take care of the soft tissue after we address breathing. And then once we do soft tissue, we're going to reset a healthy pattern. We're going to reinforce the healthy pattern. We're going to load the healthy pattern. So we don't want to necessarily layer on strength on top of dysfunction. We want to get everything moving well first, and then we can load it so that the brain has some sense of control and comfortability over that new range of motion in that new position. So the other thing we'll do is just kind of follow, here's some good power exercises, and then here's a good general like golf workout. Here's how we would set this up, and then go from there. So usually one of those three things.
Cool. The TPI screening that you do people come in just for those screenings to kind of get their assessment? Would you say that that's beneficial to them to kind of find those things in their, I don't know, it's probably more than just golf too at that point.
I'll answer it backwards. Yes, it's very important for people to get screened, and probably not just once. To answer the first question, more often than not, people are coming in because they want to get better at golf, and they want to understand why their swing is the way it is and how can it get better. So they don't just come in for the screen. They'll come in for a screen and a program. So whether it's a remote program or come in and train with us, we'll put those things into place. But a lot of them want to see the why and then how do we fix those things.
And is there one thing, I got a question here I thought was fun. Like one myth that you have in fitness that you wish everybody would stop believing?
I think it's got to be that lifting will make you slow and bulky and will affect your golf swing.
Okay.
Rory McIlroy is not bulky, and he had to lift to be able to hold up to the speeds that he is able to create at 5'9". Bryson DeChambeau had to put on a ton of weight to help him control the speeds that he was trying to achieve with his golf swing. Tiger Woods needed to put on that weight to be able to perform the way Tiger did in the early 2000s, because he had a golf swing that really fit him and no one else, but he also had to have the body to be able to perform that swing. So I think those are really important things to understand, that if you want to get faster on your golf swing, you have to get stronger first. We do not want to just go after speed, because your body's got an internal braking system. It's got a governor on it. It's not going to allow you to go faster than what your brain is comfortable controlling. The best way to do that is to add strength, then add power, then add speed.
I like to equate it, like when I'm giving lessons, I equate that same idea to having a car with a rubber frame, an aluminum frame, or a steel frame. And I think that body, how you're built, dictates how fast you can go, because you either have a rubber frame that when that engine turns, the whole frame is turning, or that aluminum frame that's a little stronger but still kind of brittle, or you have that steel frame that real cars are built on, and that's where that muscle comes from. The engine still turns, but you can get a lot more out of it when you got a steel frame.
Yeah, I kind of like using the analogy of Ferraris, and probably it was because I worked with Poulter for 12 years, but you don't want Ford brakes on a Ferrari. You don't want a Ford engine in a Ferrari. You don't want a Ford transmission in a Ferrari. You want Ferrari parts in a Ferrari. Most people are asking to be a Ferrari with Ford parts.
Sure.
And so we need to make sure that we upgrade the whole system, which we can do. We know how to do it. Get people moving better, start putting on some strength, and then start putting on speed. I think where a lot of golfers go wrong is they think, well, I'm just going to do mobility, and then I'm going to go try to get speed now that I'm moving better. Like, well, your body's got no capacity to control that speed now. So I think skipping that step is where a lot of things go wrong, rather than taking this as like a long-term approach, several months of, again, move better, get stronger. Now let's start putting on speed. Some people will get a little bit of speed back as they move better, just doing some movement training. But how long that lasts, and are we creating other problems down the road? That's easily answerable if we add strength in first. And the answer is no, you won't get hurt, or you limit the risk of it.
So if people were going to take kind of what we talked about today and decided that they wanted to start doing something, they want to just at least start doing something on their own, do you have like 3 exercises or that you think are good for them to work on that they can take with them before they come in and see you to get the real deal?
No. It's hard to answer because everything in fitness, the correct answer is always it depends. I think for 3 exercises, it depends on what they want to be doing. If they want to move a little bit better, it'll depend on what that person needs. Some people just could use better ankle mobility and do a little bit of dorsiflexion and ankle work, and a lot of problems clear up. Some people who can't touch their toes, it's got nothing to do with their hamstrings. Their pelvis is in a bad position, and they can try to touch their toes all they want until they address where their pelvis sits from a standing position and how well they can weight shift. That toe touch is never going to help. Now we can do some things to help improve motor control, which is generally a toe touch problem anyways. Just people lack the motor control to be able to get down and touch their toes with straight legs. So it's just, it always depends, which is why you want to get assessed. Whether you're just showing up for a golf lessons or starting to golf fitness, getting an assessment will give you the tools and the ideas of what you need to be working on, so that you're not just chasing your tail, that we actually know where we need to go with that.
So if somebody wants to get assessed, can they just give Aretas a telephone call and get set up with that?
Yeah, they can call us at either location. They can reach out to me, phone, email, Instagram, DM, any of those work. Carrier pigeon, you know how to get it here. We'll answer the carrier pigeon.
Perfect. And anything real quick, anything left to tell these guys that are got their resolution going here? What's the one piece of advice you'd give them to keep that thing going before they
just keep going. Start, never stop. The best workout program is 45, 3, 52. 45 minutes, 3 days a week, 52 weeks a year.
Okay.
Just follow that.
All right. I love it. Mitch, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
I'll be sure to put all your contact information in the show notes, and we'll get some people get fit in Wisconsin. So thank you again.
We're looking forward to it. Yeah, I mean, we have so many good golf courses that my goal is to help people play golf pain-free all summer long, so you can go out and enjoy as much of the golf as possible. No one likes missing rounds of golf, especially in Wisconsin where we have a limited golf season. So let's get everyone moving better, playing better golf, and playing as much as possible.
Thank you again. Very nice talking
Absolutely.
to you.
Same.
See you Friday.
Thanks, buddy. See you Friday. Bye.